Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is VIN1839. This is a 2016, kind of a late build 2016 1H9, which is Nebula Gray Pearl with LA30 interior. So that's the red interior with the standard carbon fiber trim. This popped up in the Facebook groups and marketplace, 103,000 miles in California for $37,500. So pretty good price, but you know, the miles are kind of getting up there. And this does look like it's been a California car its whole life. And so now let's get into the production and everything else. Production statistics. Nebula Gray Pearl was a 2016 only color on the GSF. So therefore, it's only in 2016. 157 cars out of the 1,418 were Nebula Gray Pearl. That's about 11%. Of those 157, only 64 had LA30 interior. But for all 5 years, in this color combination, there's only 2.7% of the cars that exist in this color combo. So Nebula Gray Pearl with red interior. Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. So Carfax shows this as a 6-owner, no accident car, so kind of getting up there in owners. Epic VIN shows this as a 4-owner, no accident car. So AutoCheck shows this as a 6-owner, 1-accident car. Carfax didn't catch that. That's why you got to check both of them. It says there was a collision on February 25th, 2020, and it does not give the details of the severity or anything else. But there is an accident that's on the history for this car. Don't know where. I don't think the current owner would know since he's only owned it since 2024, but that is something to maybe look into a little bit closer. Previous sales went on sale May of 2016, so almost a year after these cars were first in production. So as I said, it's a late build 2016, and it was sold in August of 2016, probably because the 2017s were already out at that time. But it was for sale for about 3 months before it sold. Pretty typical of what you'd see for these cars when they were new. They were very expensive. They had to discount them pretty heavily to get them sold when they were new, to the tune of, in some cases, $25,000+ to get them sold to their first owner. Next sale is March of 2018, $57,000 with 19,000 miles. February of 2020, $43,000 with 57,000 miles. The end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, that is the cheapest you would ever find these cars with the same amount of mileage versus today. And so the very next time it was for sale was August of 2022, $49,000. So it went up $6,000 and it has 80,000 miles now. So it had tens of thousands more miles and the price went up $6,000 with 80,000 miles at a Dodge dealer. And now here it is, the beginning of October 2025, 103,000 miles for $37,500. So looking at the photos, the original photos didn't give you a whole lot to go off of, but there is somebody that had went to look at the car or at least got more photos from the seller. I inquired through the seller and he hasn't responded back to me. I've tried several days, heard nothing, and a couple other people have had the same issue as well, getting a hold of this guy. But the seller does state the carbon fiber is delaminating. He says that it's lowered from the previous owner. It has H&R Trax spacers, 20 millimeters and 15 millimeters. So it's quality spacers. That's pretty common to see on these cars. I have H&R 15 millimeter on mine as well. Shows scratches on the front lip and on the doors, and one wheel has curb rash. So it looks like it has an aftermarket exhaust, which you didn't mention either, but aftermarket exhaust. Looks like the daytime running lights are tinted. And you do see if people do that. Usually yellow is kind of the way they do it. Those look orange or something like that. But from the pictures provided, it looks pretty good. And you know, it's got some miles on it, so you're not gonna expect absolute perfection. This is not gonna be a collectible quality car or anything like that. This is gonna be a great daily for somebody. So as far as the price goes, $37,500, you can see on the pricing charts and everything, it's pretty much right where it needs to be. $37,500, spot on for this car, even if you have to replace some of the carbon fiber bits and some other things, but that wouldn't turn me off at all at this price and at this mileage. You know, these cars, this is the engine that's in the ISF, very similar to the engine that's in the ISF. And those cars, there's several of them with 300,000 miles. And obviously you have to pay to maintain them and keep them going, but there's several of them. There's a couple GSFs that are already in excess of 200,000 miles. 100,000 miles on these cars wouldn't scare me in the slightest, as long as it's been properly maintained. And so speaking of being properly maintained, let's look at the service history. So the service history, it does look like it's pretty well dealer serviced too. So that's another green flag. The past 2 years or 20,000 miles, not a lot to go on. So it was well dealer serviced to a point. So now we'll jump into it and see what we find. It looks like mostly just basic oil changes other than a few things here. May of 2018, the JLB recall was done. That's the high pressure fuel pumps. And also in May of 2018, after it was replaced, the check engine light was on for code P1604, and that is a long start issue, startability issue, I think is officially what it's called. You see that a lot when the batteries are weak or it has a bad cell, but it still has enough voltage to start the car. The car doesn't like it when it cranks too long, so it will throw a code. So I think that's a result of a battery going bad. January of 2019, the car is struggling to start. Bad battery. Okay, so that answers that. So it looks like it was just a bad battery. The low pressure fuel pump was reprogrammed. Again, you hear like a humming or buzzing in the back seat, that resolves it. And most of these cars have had that sorted by now. There's a few out there that still don't, but if it's out of warranty and it didn't have it done, the dealer will charge you an hour labor to do that, and it is worth doing. September of 2020, more long starting, hard starting issues, and another bad battery. So that battery didn't even last 4 or 5 months, and COVID built batteries, man. October of 2022, TVD, torque vectoring differential codes. And they said that after determining the ECU for the TVD is bad, it's where the spare tire would normally sit. It's a big, long ECU. They quoted him $7,267 to replace that ECU. It's 3 hours of labor, which seems a little high, but maybe you have some programming to do or something, but it's pretty easy to get to. But it was not done there. A month later, in November of 2022, 80,000 miles, TVD was replaced, the TVD ECU was replaced under the extended warranty, $7,715. So the extended warranty paid all but $900. So I would say you definitely got your money's worth out of your extended warranty right there. January of 23, they noted a squeaking or bearing noise in the engine bay at idle. I know exactly what that is without even digging into it. The high pressure fuel pumps on each side of the engine, they're mechanically driven. They run off of a cam lobe on the camshaft on the back of the engine, and they squeak, they make noise. That's just, they do that. And I've talked about this in other videos. My car has had them replaced 3 times. Once for the recall, twice because they were making noise under warranty, and it still makes it. There's no getting around it. They make noise. They squeak, they sound like a cricket chirping. That's what it is here. And so they said they tried going in tech stream and turning off the high pressure fuel injectors or the direct port injectors, and it still made the noise. That's because it's the fuel pumps making the noise. It's a mechanic, they're always spinning, they're always working. It's whether or not they're open or closed, but that's the noise. And so I would fully suspect if you go and drive this car, get it up to temperature, let it idle, you're gonna hear that noise. Don't let it worry you. March of 2023, they note that the TVD light is on again. So they've already spent almost $8,000 to replace the TVD ECU, and now the light's on again, but they said they couldn't replicate it. There weren't any codes stored. So that's a big question mark there. They also noted that the right front door has the carbon fiber trim peeling, and the heat exchanger was leaking. That's the one that's right by the oil filter. It's sandwiched between the oil filter and the block of the engine. Weird to see that's leaking. Usually sometimes those will be leaking oil because there's a little O-ring that goes around there and they leak, but not common. And I would assume that's still covered under whatever extended warranty this car had. That was probably not inexpensive either. But when I first saw that, I was hoping that was the valley plate, and it's not. It's the heat exchanger that's replaced, not the valley plate. So that means what has not been done, or what have I not seen on the service? 60,000 mile service, or even 100,000 mile service. That means spark plugs, belts, transmission service, TVD service, the fluids, brake fluid, all of that. None of that appears to have been done at the Lexus dealer. Not to say it hasn't been done, it just hasn't been done at the Lexus dealer. So make sure you can find history on that. If not, when you buy this car, you're gonna be on the hook for, if you do it yourself, $500-600 worth of service. If you do it at a dealer, $2,000+. So there is some money you're gonna have to put into this car right when you buy it to bring it up to date on maintenance, if nothing else. Other things not done, I said the valley plate. The valley plate has not been done at Lexus, but it may have been done elsewhere. Definitely do a pre-purchase inspection and have the valley plate inspected. It doesn't take long to do as long as you have a scope, anything like that. I can leave in the comments the scope that I use. It's a couple $100 and it will save you $2,000 worth of service just by inspecting it. You can do it yourself if nothing else. I've seen nothing about the HVAC servo sweep, so resetting the limits. Set it on max hot on one side, max cold on the other, go through the defrost, the head, the vent, the rear, cycle through all of them and then switch sides. Make sure everything responds to the proper temperatures as they should. If they don't, There are several servos underneath the dash that if you have to replace some of those, the dash has to come out, and that can be a couple $1,000s to do. So it can get very expensive very quickly if that's acting up. Lower control arm bushings, as always, front lower control arm bushings. Check the inside of the front tires, make sure you don't see any excessive wear. This car being lowered, it better have adjustable links on the rear and the front. If it doesn't, then you're gonna be wearing out tires pretty quick anyway. So that is another thing to think about. Ask the seller if he has the factory springs, if you wanna put it back on the factory ride height, something like that. But there's other things to think about because the car is modified. The ZLZ customer service campaign regarding the sticky, deforming, cracked dash, anything like that, that hasn't been done on this car. It's still covered for 10 years from the in-service date up to 125,000 miles. So this car still applies to that for at least another year, maybe 2. Well, yeah, because it is a late build 2016, in service in the middle of 16. So I think you would definitely have at least another almost year of coverage left on that if you can get your dash replaced under that. Other things, tires, brakes. These cars always need brakes. 20, 30,000 miles. So definitely inspect the brakes. If not, you can do it yourself for $500 or $600 using Rock Auto parts. They sell Brembo rotors at Rock Auto and then run Power Stop Z26 pads for about $50 an axle. Low dust, 90% as good as stock as far as immediate bite for the brakes. I've done that on this before I did the carbon ceramic conversion. And so that's definitely the way to do it for brakes on these cars. Brembo OEM rotors with Power Stop Z26 pads. But I would fully expect if that hasn't been done, you're gonna be on the hook for brakes on this car too. Check tires closely, just because it's lowered too. So check the insides of the tires. Assume that none of it's been done until you can prove otherwise. So finally, would I buy this car? I think $37,500, it's priced well. If you can get it cheaper, because you know going into it, assume nothing has been done as far as maintenance to bring it up to where it needs to be. So maintenance, brakes, tires, carbon fiber trim, just anything else. The TVD issues that it's had, and remember that even after that ECU was replaced, it still had the complaint of the light being on again. That concerns me a little bit because that can get very expensive. Anything involving the TVD, the torque vectoring differential, or the electronics around it are extremely expensive. The torque vectoring differential, if you had to buy it retail, is $36,000. And very expensive. There are workarounds to that. You can order one from Japan for about $8,000 and then pay shipping and tariffs and everything else, and then it's about $10,000, but it's cheaper than $36,000. The benefit to that also is the RCFs that had the torque vectoring differential, usually you can find those being parted out on eBay. You can pick one up there for like $1,500. So there are workarounds, but that stuff can get expensive very quickly. And so I'm warning you that when you start seeing TVD issues on these cars, it can be expensive. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it does have that one accident. I originally thought it was a 6-owner, no accident car. It is a 6-owner, 1 accident car. We don't know anything about that accident other than it was almost 5 years, well, it was over 5 years ago. And that doesn't turn me off, but any of these cars, when they have one accident, you can adjust the value down 5 or 6%. And so if you assumed it was a no accident car with this mileage and these issues at 37.5, go down to 36, 35,000, something like that. Maybe that's closer to where this car needs to be. Now, when you get down to like the 32 range, you're getting in the rebuilt title territory, and this car is not that. It is a clean title car. It is a 1-year only color, and it does have some mods. The maintenance history is a little bit questionable, but for the last couple of years, but it's gonna need some money into it. But if you want a low cost of entry into GSF ownership, this definitely has a great potential. And so I would still consider it. It would not be, it doesn't have enough, there's not enough issues or not enough wrong with it that would turn me away from it. I think I would still consider it. Just, it would be a great driver quality car. That's the way I would see it. So if it's something you're looking at buying a GSF and you don't want to spend $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 on one, this is definitely a better option, and just get in and drive it, but just keep in mind you may have to put some money into it. So that is VIN 1839. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.